What if the most powerful weapon you have isn't strength, luck, or talent, but the ability to pause before you act? Every downfall, every wrong decision, every broken relationship, they almost always begin the same way, with reaction, not into reflection. You feel attacked and defend. You feel challenged and compete. You feel insecure and overcompensate. But the world's greatest strategists, from military generals to visionary founders, share one hidden trait. They never react, they respond. That's the difference between losing your power and using it. Strategic thinking doesn't begin with intelligence, it begins with awareness. Awareness of your own impulses. Because how can you plan your next move if you don't even realize you're being moved by emotion? Most people believe strategy is about intelligence, seeing 10 steps ahead. But in truth, strategy begins with self-control. You can't control the board until you control your own mind. In this first chapter, we explore how to cultivate inner stillness, the calm that lets you see clearly while everyone else panics, because the real battlefield isn't out there, it's inside you. Awareness before action. Imagine a chess grandmaster. His opponent attacks, the crowd watches, tension builds, but he doesn't rush. He studies the board, breathes and waits, because he knows the first move that comes to mind is usually the wrong one. Life works the same way. Most people lose because they move too fast. Strategic thinkers win because they wait, not out of fear, but understanding. They pause long enough to see the whole board, not just the piece in front of them. Every time you feel triggered, stop. Ask, what's really happening here? Is it the situation, or is it your ego that feels attacked? That single moment of awareness changes everything. The power of detachment. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you don't feel, it means you don't drown in what you feel. A strategist can stand in the middle of chaos and still see clearly. They've trained themselves to separate emotion from evaluation. They can say, I feel angry, without letting anger decide their next move. They can face rejection without losing direction. Detachment isn't coldness, it's clarity. It's the ability to hold both emotion and logic in the same space, and then choose which one leads. Emotion as information emotions aren't enemies. They're data. Anger shows what boundary was crossed. Fear shows what risk you care about. Jealousy shows what you desire. But only if you listen without judgment. When you observe emotions instead of obeying them, you turn them into strategic insight. You start seeing patterns. When do I get defensive? What situations make me anxious? What triggers my need for validation? The more data you collect about your emotions, the more precisely you can predict your behavior and influence it before it influences you. The pause between stimulus and response. Viktor Frankl once said, between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. That space is the birthplace of strategy. It's the half second where your mind decides who's in control, you or your emotions. Train that space. When something frustrates you, breathe. When someone insults you, observe. When life surprises you, don't react. Analyze. Each time you do, that gap grows wider, and inside that widening gap, you'll find freedom. Reflection. As a habit, awareness is powerful, but awareness, without practice, fades fast. Build systems for reflection. Every night, ask yourself 3 questions. 1. Where did I react instead of respond? 2. What emotion led that reaction? 3. What would a strategist have done differently? Write it down. Journaling turns reflection into data, and data is the foundation of strategy. Over time, awareness becomes instinct, instinct becomes mastery, and mastery becomes calm. That's how strategy starts, not with plans, but with peace. The mirror of conflict. Every conflict is a mirror. It shows you not who others are, but where your inner work remains undone. When you find yourself angry, it's not always the other person's fault. Sometimes it's a part of you resisting truth. Strategic thinkers use conflict as feedback. They ask, what is this situation trying to teach me about myself? In this way, enemies become teachers and obstacles become mirrors reflecting blind spots you need to see. The still mind. A still mind is not an empty one, it's a focused one. When you're calm, your awareness expands. You see cause and effect clearly. You stop reacting to noise and start sensing patterns. The world may move fast, but you move deliberately. Stillness is not passivity, it's precision. It allows you to act only when action is necessary and powerful. You can't think strategically if you're emotionally hijacked. Mastering your emotions doesn't make you less human, it makes you unstoppable. Once you learn to pause, the world slows down with you. You start seeing possibilities others miss. You act while others react. You move with intention while they move with impulse. That's how strategy begins. Not on the battlefield, not in the boardroom, but within you. Clarity is power. Clarity is the compass of a strategic mind. Without it, even the most brilliant strategy collapses into confusion. Every decision, every direction begins with one simple but difficult question. What exactly do I want? Most people think they know. They say they want success, happiness, freedom. But these words are fog, vague shapes without form. You can't hit a target you can't see, and that's why clarity is power, because when your mind is clear, your actions become inevitable. Imagine standing in the middle of a forest at night with no map and no light. You could walk for hours and never move closer to your destination. That is what life feels like without clarity. You move, but you don't progress. You act, but you don't advance. Unclear goals drain your energy faster than hard work ever will. They scatter your focus across 1,000 small things that don't matter. But when you have clarity, every action feels lighter, every step more meaningful. You stop asking, what should I do next? And start saying, this is where I'm going. The first rule of clarity is this. Define success in your own terms before the world defines it for you. Everywhere you look, society is shouting its version of success. More money, more followers, more status. But strategy begins with alignment, not imitation. Ask yourself, what does success look like to me? What does it feel like? And what am I willing to give up to achieve it? If your answer is borrowed from someone else, it will eventually collapse. Because clarity cannot exist where authenticity doesn't. The brain needs precision to execute powerfully. Saying, I want to be successful is like telling a GPS, take me somewhere nice. It doesn't work. But saying, I want to build a business that gives me creative freedom and earns $10,000 a month by the end of next year, that's a direction. Specificity transforms dreams into data. Data drives strategy. Strategy creates results. So write it down, name it, define it in numbers, in emotions, in pictures. The sharper the target, the straighter the arrow. Clarity isn't just about knowing what to do, it's about knowing what not to do. Great strategists are ruthless editors. They cut away distractions, even good ones, to protect the great, because every yes is 1,000 silent no's to other possibilities. You cannot build focus on a foundation of excess. Ask yourself, what can I stop doing that no longer serves where I'm going? The clearer your priorities, the simpler your life becomes. Simplicity breeds focus. Focus breeds power. Strategic clarity always looks beyond the moment. The mind that sees far acts calmly. When you're clear about your destination, you stop obsessing over every bump in the road. Temporary setbacks lose their power to discourage you. This is why clarity is so rare. Most people think in reactions, strategists think in horizons. You don't need to see the whole road, you just need to know you're on the right one. Clarity isn't something you find once, it's something you renew. Every month, every season, pause and ask, what do I truly want now? Is this still aligned with my deeper purpose? What distractions have re-entered my path? Your answers will shift. That's natural, because clarity isn't rigidity, it's realignment. It's the art of staying true as you evolve. A young archer once asked his master how to hit the target every time. The master replied, "Before you aim, learn to see." The student practiced for months, but his arrows still missed. One day, frustrated, he sat beneath the target and watched it sway in the wind. Then he realized every time he aimed, he was fighting the wind, not working with it. He learned to wait for the right moment, the rhythm between stillness and motion. His aim became natural, effortless. The master smiled and said, "Now you see. The target was never the problem. The vision was." Clarity is not force. It's alignment. It's learning to see before you shoot. Strategic clarity also transforms the way you speak and lead. A clear mind expresses clear ideas. Confusion in speech is often confusion in thought. When you communicate, simplicity is strength. Be direct, but not harsh. Be precise, but not rigid. The clearer your message, the deeper it resonates. In teams, clarity builds trust. People don't follow vague leaders. They follow those who paint a clear picture of where they're going and why it matters. Remember, a confused mind hesitates, but a clear message moves people. Clarity is a daily discipline. It requires silence, reflection, and honesty. In a noisy world, taking time to listen to your inner compass becomes your greatest strategic advantage. Write your goals, visualize them, and revisit them often. Life will test your focus, tempt you with distractions, and cloud your direction. But the mind that keeps returning to clarity always finds its way. When your vision is clear, your path becomes unstoppable. That is the power of clarity, the second pillar of strategic thinking. Information is ammunition. Information is the raw material of every great decision. Without it, strategy becomes guesswork. With it, the mind becomes unstoppable. In the modern world, those who see clearly win, not because they are luckier, but because they know more sooner and use it better. Knowledge has always been power, but today, information is leverage. The way you collect, interpret, and act on it determines how far you go. Most people don't fail because of ignorance. They fail because of assumption. They act on what they think they know, not what's actually true. Assumptions are invisible walls. They confine your strategy inside a box you can't see. You assume your market wants X, your partner thinks Y, or your limit is Z, and you build your life around these illusions. A strategist, however, questions everything. They replace assumption with investigation. Before they act, they gather data, not to delay decisions, but to make better ones. Ask yourself, what if I'm wrong about this? What information would prove me right, or reveal that I've been blind? Information by itself is noise. Strategy turns it into signal. The world feeds you endless data every day, or opinions, trends, metrics, headlines. The difference between drowning in data and mastering it is the intelligence loop. Collect, filter, interpret, act, review. Strategic thinkers run this loop constantly. Every conversation, every failure, every trend, all become inputs in their system of awareness. The goal isn't to have all the answers, it's to ask smarter questions. In the age of information overload, the real scarcity is depth. Everyone skims, few study. Everyone consumes, few understand. True intelligence isn't about knowing everything. It's about knowing what matters deeply. When you read, don't read more, read better. When you research, go beyond headlines. Ask, what's the underlying principle here? The deeper your comprehension, the sharper your strategy. Breadth makes you flexible. Depth makes you formidable. The best strategists balance both. Raw data is lifeless until it's connected. A single fact is just a fragment. But connect it with others, and patterns emerge. Patterns that predict, reveal, and guide. Information becomes insight when you understand. Context. Knowing that a competitor launched a new product means little. Knowing why, when, and how they did tells you everything. Train your mind to connect dots others overlook. When people see random events, a strategist sees systems. Not all information is external. The most powerful insights often come from within. Emotional intelligence, understanding your own and others' emotions, is the soft data that guides human interaction. It tells you when to speak, when to wait, and when to walk away. When you read people well, you read the room. When you read the room, you shape outcomes. So listen, not just to words, but to tone, body language, silence. The subtler the data, the greater the power hidden inside it. Information can empower or paralyze too much, too fast, and the mind freezes. The strategist guards against information fatigue by using filters, habits, principles, and trusted sources. Ask, does this information help me move forward, or does it just make me feel busy? Every piece of data should either clarify or support your direction. If it doesn't, discard it, because information without wisdom is distraction disguised as progress. Information is the weapon of the modern age, but wisdom is the aim. Don't just collect, connect. Don't just know, understand. Don't just act, anticipate. The more you refine your relationship with information, the less life will surprise you. You'll start seeing cause before effect, trend before movement, danger before disaster. That is the mark of a true strategist, not one who reacts to the world, but one who reads it. And that's how information, properly used, becomes your greatest ammunition. See, the board strategy is not just about the next move. It's about seeing the entire game. Most people make decisions like chess beginners, reacting to the most obvious threats. But great strategists in business, war, or life see the whole board. They understand that every piece, every position, every action is connected. Seeing the board is the ability to step back from the noise and perceive patterns others ignore. Imagine you're standing too close to a painting. All you can see are the brushstrokes, the chaos, the colors, the confusion. But when you step back, the image comes into focus. The same is true of life. If you're always reacting to what's right in front of you, you miss the design that shapes it all. Strategic vision begins the moment you step back and look at the big picture. Seeing the board means cultivating perspective. You must rise above the emotional fog of the moment and see things as they are, not as you wish them to be. When you zoom out, patterns emerge. Problems that seemed personal reveal themselves as systemic. Obstacles that looked permanent become temporary. In the clarity of distance, your path becomes visible. The difference between winners and losers is rarely intelligence, it's perspective. Most people are trapped inside their own piece of the board, reacting to moves they don't understand. But a strategist learns to think in layers, short-term moves, mid-term setups, long-term positioning. The goal isn't to win a single exchange, it's to win the game over time. In chess, a beginner thinks about the next move. A master thinks about how the entire board will evolve. Life works the same way. Every choice you make creates ripples that affect everything else. Relationships, habits, and decisions all interact. When you make choices without seeing their connections, you lose control of the outcome. But when you step back and trace those connections, you gain control over your destiny. Seeing the board also means recognizing that not all pieces are equal. Some moves are flashy but meaningless. Others look small but shift the entire game. A single conversation can open a new path. A single missed opportunity can cost years. The strategist learns to evaluate impact, not appearance. They act on leverage, not noise. There's a story about a Japanese general who led his army to victory without a single battle. Instead of attacking, he studied the map, the rivers, the supply lines, and the psychology of his enemy. He realized he didn't need to fight. He needed to cut off the enemy's access to food and morale. Within weeks, the opposing army surrendered, He won not through aggression, but through vision. Seeing the board allowed him to win without fighting. In your own life, this means learning to identify the key points of influence, the small moves that change everything. Where can you act today that will create the biggest effect tomorrow? Which habits, relationships, or decisions serve as leverage points in your personal strategy? The more clearly you see them, the fewer moves you need to make. To see the board clearly, you must learn to rise above the game. Detach from immediate emotion and cultivate awareness. Ask yourself, what is really happening here? What forces are shaping this situation? Who benefits from this pattern continuing? When you see through the surface, you start playing a deeper game. Seeing the board is also about humility. You must accept that you don't know everything. The strategist doesn't predict the future. They prepare for possibilities. They think in scenarios. If this happens, I'll move here. If that changes, I'll pivot there. Flexibility is power. Rigidity breaks. Awareness adapts. Another part of seeing the board is learning to spot timing. Every opportunity has a rhythm. The strategist doesn't force moves. They wait for alignment. Acting too soon is as dangerous as acting too late. By observing the flow of events, you learn when the moment is ripe. This patience, paired with awareness, becomes intuition. But awareness is useless without interpretation. You must learn to read patterns, not just notice them. Ask yourself, what keeps repeating in my life? What lessons do I resist learning? What behaviors produce the same outcomes again and again? But these are the loops that define your personal board. Until you see them, you're doomed to repeat them. Strategic vision demands distance, curiosity, and honesty. It means pausing long enough to see the system behind the situation. Once you see the board, you stop playing pieces and start playing positions. You act not to survive the moment, but to shape the long game. The ability to see the board transforms confusion into clarity and reaction into control. It turns chaos into coherence. When others panic, you pause. When they see obstacles, you see openings. The board is always there. The question is whether you're standing close enough to the chaos to miss it, or far enough back to understand it. Seeing the board is the essence of strategic thinking, because only when you understand the full picture can you move with confidence, act with precision, and win without conflict. Anticipation. Strategy is not about reacting faster than others. It's about seeing further. The power of anticipation lies in your ability to predict, prepare, and position yourself before events unfold. While most people are trapped in the present, reacting to every new challenge, the strategist lives one step ahead, shaping outcomes before they arrive. Anticipation is not about fortune-telling, it's about pattern recognition, the art of reading the flow of events and seeing what comes next. The more you study how things evolve, the less they surprise you. Like a skilled surfer, you can't control the ocean, but you can sense the wave long before it rises. Timing is not luck, it's awareness meeting preparation. Every situation carries signals of what's coming. Markets, relationships, beats, and even emotions leave clues. The question is, are you paying attention? Most people are too busy reacting to notice patterns forming. The strategist slows down, observes, and listens. They ask, what's changing? What's repeating? What's building momentum beneath the surface? In chess, a novice focuses on the last move, a master focuses on the next three. The same principle applies in life. To anticipate is to expand your horizon of thought, to train your mind to see consequences before they happen. Every action creates a chain of reactions. Anticipation lets you guide that chain instead of being dragged by it. Anticipation begins with awareness but matures into design. Once you can predict, you can prepare. And once you can prepare, you can influence. Think of a military commander who doesn't wait for the enemy's attack. He positions his troops where the attack will happen. He studies terrain, weather, and morale. He turns prediction into advantage. In business, anticipation means preparing for shifts in markets, technology, or human behavior. The companies that thrive aren't just fast, they're forward-looking. They build systems that adapt before change is necessary. Netflix anticipated streaming before DVDs died. Apple anticipated the mobile era before most people knew what a smartphone was. They didn't chase the future, they shaped it. But anticipation isn't only external, it's deeply personal. You can learn to anticipate your own reactions, emotions, and weaknesses. You can recognize when burnout is coming, when fear will strike, or when your ego might sabotage your progress. Self-anticipation is self-mastery. When you know your patterns, you can rewrite them before they repeat. There's an old samurai saying, "The battle is won before it is fought." It means victory belongs to those who prepare the field before the fight begins. A strategist prepares not just plans, but mindsets. They train calmness under pressure, clarity in chaos, patience in uncertainty. They prepare for the storm long before it hits, not to avoid it, but to move through it with precision. To cultivate anticipation, start small. At the end of each day, ask, what surprised me today, and why didn't I see it coming? Over time, you'll start noticing patterns. The same mistakes, the same delays, the same frustrations, they reveal where your foresight is weak. Each realization strengthens your predictive lens. Anticipation thrives on curiosity. The moment you think you know everything, you lose sight of what's shifting. Stay curious about trends, people, and your environment. Read beyond your field. Talk to people outside your circle. Expand your information horizon so your predictions become richer. The wider your view, the earlier you see the signals of change. But beware of overthinking. The goal of anticipation isn't to predict every detail. It's to prepare for possibilities. The strategist doesn't need certainty, they need readiness. You can't foresee every storm, but you can build a ship strong enough to weather them all. Anticipation is not control. It's adaptability with foresight. The greatest advantage of anticipation is peace. When you expect the unexpected, fear loses its grip. You no longer live in reaction to chaos, you navigate it. You trust that whatever comes, you'll see it early enough to act with intention. The unknown becomes less a threat and more a field of opportunity. To anticipate is to dance with time. It's the art of living slightly ahead, of aligning your preparation with what's unfolding. While others are caught off guard, you are already in motion. That's the essence of strategy. Not chasing the future, but quietly waiting for it to arrive, already ready. Timing. Strategy is not just about what to do, it's about when to do it. Timing transforms ordinary moves into extraordinary outcomes. Even the best plan executed at the wrong moment fails. The power of timing lies in understanding rhythm, the invisible pulse that governs progress, opportunity, and success. Every situation, every person, and every goal has a rhythm. Nature moves in cycles, the tides, the seasons, the sunrise. Life, too, has its tides. There are moments to advance and moments to wait, moments to speak and moments to stay silent. The strategist learns to sense this rhythm and act when conditions align. They don't chase momentum, they synchronize with it. Impatience destroys more strategies than ignorance ever will. The untrained mind confuses movement with progress and noise with opportunity, but speed without timing leads to collapse. The strategist knows that a delayed victory is better than a premature defeat. They understand that waiting is not weakness, it's wisdom. Picture a surfer watching the waves. The inexperienced one paddles frantically, chasing every ripple, exhausting themselves before the real wave arrives. The master waits, studies the current, and positions themselves perfectly. When the right wave rises, they move with grace and power. Timing is not hesitation, it's precision. Great leaders and innovators succeed because they master this art. Steve Jobs didn't invent digital music or smartphones. He entered the market when technology and culture were ready to receive them. The Wright brothers weren't the first to dream of flight. They acted when materials, engines, and knowledge aligned. Timing turns ideas into revolutions, but timing isn't about waiting forever. It's about reading readiness, both in yourself and in the world around you. You must know when you're prepared and when you're not. Acting too soon exposes your weaknesses. Acting too late means missing the window. Strategy is finding the intersection between preparation and opportunity, that brief moment when the door is open and you are ready to walk through. To master timing, you must cultivate patience without paralysis. The strategist observes but never drifts into endless analysis. They balance reflection with readiness. They wait, but they do so actively, sharpening skills, gathering resources, and positioning themselves so that when the moment comes, action is effortless. Timing also applies to emotion. In conflict, reacting too quickly leads to regret. In communication, speaking too early can ruin connection. The strategist pauses to measure not only the clock but the temperature. They ask, is the other person ready to hear this? Is this the right environment to act? Right timing turns friction into flow. Sometimes, and the best move is no move at all. Silence can be strategy, retreat can be repositioning, stillness can be setup. The impatient see pause as failure, the strategist sees it as alignment. By conserving energy and waiting for the right moment, they strike once and decisively. There's a saying in martial arts, a master strikes once, never twice. The meaning is simple, precision beats repetition. In life too, mastery of timing means knowing when not to act so that your action, when it comes, is unstoppable. Timing is the art of trust. You trust your preparation, your perception, and the unfolding of events. You don't force outcomes, you let them mature. You understand that just because something isn't happening now doesn't mean it never will. When you learn to trust timing, frustration fades and focus deepens. To practice timing, observe patterns around you. Notice when things succeed easily and when they resist. Journal about moments when you acted too soon or too late. Over time, you'll refine your internal clock, the instinct that tells you when to move and when to hold. The strategist's strength isn't just in action, it's in restraint. They know that every move has its moment, and every moment carries its move. The harmony of the two creates flow. That's the secret of timing, not controlling time, but moving in rhythm with it. When you master timing, you stop chasing opportunity and start meeting it. You align your movement with life's rhythm, and in that harmony, success stops feeling forced. It becomes inevitable. Leverage. Leverage is the art of achieving more with less, the ability to multiply impact without multiplying effort. Every strategist understands that success doesn't come from working harder, but from identifying and using points of power that move everything else. In physics, leverage is the force that lifts a boulder with a small stick. In life, it's the mindset that turns limited resources into limitless results. Most people try to push everything themselves. They rely on willpower instead of design. But the strategist asks, where can I apply minimal force for maximum effect? That question changes everything. It transforms effort into efficiency, action into influence. Leverage begins with awareness. You can't use what you can't see. Every situation, system, or relationship has a leverage point, a spot where a small, well-timed action changes the entire outcome. It might be a key decision maker, a recurring pattern, or a single constraint that controls the whole system. Find that point, and you control the flow. There are three primary types of leverage: knowledge, network, and systems. Knowledge leverage comes from expertise, the insights that make your moves smarter. Network leverage comes from people, the connections that extend your reach. Systems leverage comes from structure, the processes that allow results to scale beyond your personal effort. Knowledge leverage is the ability to turn understanding into acceleration. When you master a skill deeply, each action carries more precision and power. You no longer waste time guessing, you move straight to what works. Knowledge compounds like interest. The more you learn, the faster you grow. That's why strategic thinkers never stop studying, because every insight today becomes momentum tomorrow. Network leverage is about people. No great achievement is done alone. Relationships are multipliers of opportunity. A single introduction can save years of work. A single mentor can prevent decades of mistakes. But leverage isn't exploitation, it's collaboration. The strategist builds genuine trust and mutual benefit, knowing that influence grows through authenticity. When your reputation carries weight, doors open before you knock. Systems leverage is what turns hustle into sustainability. Systems are invisible machines that keep momentum alive when you're not watching. They can be habits, routines, technologies, or teams, anything that automates success. Without systems, progress depends on energy. With systems, progress depends on design. The strategist builds once and benefits repeatedly. Leverage also lives in language. The words you choose can shift emotions, shape beliefs, and move crowds. A leader who speaks with clarity and conviction moves others to act. The right message, delivered at the right moment, becomes a lever that changes minds. But there's another form of leverage most overlook: self-awareness. The deeper you understand yourself, the more control you gain over your decisions, your energy, and your time. Knowing your strengths allows you to amplify them. Knowing your weaknesses helps you design around them. Self-awareness turns discipline into direction. Leverage is not manipulation, it's alignment. It's finding the point where your effort intersects with the world's momentum. It's saying, instead of pushing harder, I'll position smarter. That's why leverage is not about adding more, it's about removing friction. When the system is aligned, even small pushes move mountains. The absence of leverage is struggle. People burn out not because they lack passion, but because they lack power distribution. They waste energy on low-impact actions. They climb ladders that lead nowhere. The strategist steps back and asks, what's the one move that makes everything else easier or unnecessary? That question reveals leverage. Leverage thrives on compounding. One habit practiced daily, one system refined weekly, one relationship nurtured consistently. Over time, these small efforts multiply into unstoppable momentum. The strategist doesn't chase big wins. They stack small advantages until gravity takes over. To cultivate leverage, you must think like an engineer. Identify bottlenecks, simplify processes, delegate wisely. Automate where possible, build tools that free you from repetition. Each refinement increases your output without increasing your strain. Efficiency becomes elegance. There's a saying, give me a lever long enough and I can move the world. Your lever is built from awareness, clarity, and alignment. When you combine these, you transcend hard work and enter the realm of strategic work. You stop surviving by effort and start thriving by design. Leverage is the multiplier of mastery. It allows you to do in a day what others do in a week, to reach 1,000 with the energy meant for one, to turn intention into impact. And the beauty of leverage is this: once you learn to use it, you never go back to pushing blindly again. Adaptability. If strategy is the art of direction, adaptability is the art of survival. In a world that changes faster than ever, rigidity is defeat. The strategist thrives not because they control everything, but because they can adjust to anything. Adaptability is not compromise, it's evolution. The ability to remain true to purpose while flexible in approach. Life is a series of shifting landscapes. What works today may fail tomorrow. What once brought success may later bring stagnation. The rigid mind resists change, clinging to what once worked. The adaptable mind flows with it, asking not, how do I keep things the same, but how do I stay effective no matter what changes? Adaptability begins with perception. You cannot adapt to what you do not notice. The strategist stays alert to signals, subtle changes in environment, i.e. tone or momentum. They sense shifts before they are announced. When others are blindsided, the adaptable mind is already moving. To adapt effectively, you must separate your goal from your method. The goal is the destination, the method is the route. The rigid confuse the two. They cling to a path even when the road disappears. The strategist stays loyal to the vision, but flexible with the plan. If one route closes, they pivot to another without losing momentum. Adaptability turns obstacles into detours, not dead ends. There's a lesson from nature. The bamboo bends in the storm while the oak breaks. Strength doesn't always mean resistance. It often means resilience. The strategist learns to bend without surrendering, to adjust without losing shape. This balance between stability and flexibility defines mastery. Adaptability is also mental agility. It means updating your beliefs when reality changes. It means letting go of ego, the need to be right, in favor of truth. The strategist doesn't defend outdated assumptions, they evolve them. When new data arrives, they integrate it, not ignore it. In this way, adaptability is intelligence in motion. But adaptability isn't chaos, it's guided change. The strategist adapts within boundaries of purpose. Flexibility without direction leads to drift. You must anchor your adaptability in clarity, know what matters so you can adjust what doesn't. This is how you stay fluid without losing form. In business, adaptability separates companies that thrive from those that vanish. Blockbuster clung to a dying model. Netflix adapted and dominated. In nature, species survive not by strength, but by evolution. The same rule applies to human potential. Survival belongs to those who learn fastest. Adaptability requires courage. Change is uncomfortable because it demands uncertainty. But uncertainty is the birthplace of innovation. When you step into the unknown with confidence, you turn unpredictability into opportunity. The strategist understands that discomfort is not danger, it's growth in disguise. To practice adaptability, regularly challenge your own routines. Try new methods. Seek different perspectives. Question what you assume is permanent. Build flexibility into your habits so change becomes natural, not threatening. The more you stretch, the more elastic your thinking becomes. Adaptability also means emotional balance. When things go wrong, the rigid panic. The adaptable breathe. They stay calm enough to reassess and act. This emotional composure creates clarity under pressure, the foundation of intelligent adaptation. The strategist's mantra is simple. Stay clear on purpose, stay flexible in path. You don't fight the current, you learn to navigate it. You use the energy of change to move forward faster. This is not survival through luck, it's survival through design. Adaptability is evolution in real time. It turns resistance into flow, setbacks into adjustments, and change into momentum. When you master adaptability, you stop fearing uncertainty. You start using it. You become the kind of strategist who doesn't just survive change, but grows stronger because of it. Psychological strategy. Every great strategist knows that the ultimate battlefield is not physical. It's psychological. Wars are won in minds before they're won in the world. Psychological strategy is the ability to understand, influence, and align human behavior without force. It's persuasion, perception, and presence combined into one subtle form of power. At its core, psychology drives everything. Every decision, every alliance, every conflict is emotional before it is logical. To influence outcomes, you must first understand what moves people. The strategist doesn't manipulate, they empathize. They don't push, they position. By understanding what others need to feel, they guide them toward what needs to be done. The first rule of psychological strategy is awareness. Observe more than you speak. Listen beyond words. To tone, hesitation, silence. The more you observe, the more you understand the true motives behind actions. Most people communicate on the surface. The strategist reads the undercurrent. But the second rule is emotional calibration. Your emotions influence the emotions of those around you. Anger breeds resistance. Calm breeds trust. Confidence invites belief. The strategist doesn't let emotions control them. They use emotions intentionally to set the tone. When you control your state, you control the room. Influence begins with understanding identity. People don't act on facts. They act to protect who they believe they are. If your message threatens someone's identity, no logic will convince them. But if you align your message with their self-image, they'll accept it willingly. The strategist asks, who does this person see themselves as? What story are they trying to protect? There's a reason the greatest negotiators, leaders, and teachers speak in stories. Stories bypass resistance. They plant ideas indirectly, allowing people to arrive at the conclusion themselves. Direct argument triggers ego, narrative disarms it. The strategist uses storytelling not as manipulation, but as guidance, turning ideas into experiences people feel. Psychological strategy also means mastering perception. People don't respond to reality, they respond to their perception of it. The strategist shapes perception by controlling focus. They highlight what matters, minimize what distracts, and frame reality in ways that empower rather than intimidate. In this way, they create alignment without confrontation. Power, when used psychologically, becomes invisible. The strategist doesn't shout authority, they radiate certainty. Their calm presence communicates control. Their restraint builds intrigue. Their consistency earns trust. Influence built on fear collapses. Influence built on respect endures. A key part of psychological strategy is mirroring. When you subtly match the tone, pace, or body language of another person, rapport forms naturally. It signals safety. From safety grows openness. From openness grows influence. The strategist uses mirroring to connect, not to copy, but to harmonize. Understanding human nature also means understanding resistance. When people say no, it's often fear speaking, not logic. Fear of loss, rejection, or change. The strategist doesn't fight resistance, they explore it. They ask questions that uncover what the other person is protecting. By making people feel seen, they lower defenses and invite collaboration. In leadership, psychological strategy means creating emotional environments that foster growth. Motivation is not built on pressure, it's built on meaning. People rise when they feel their effort matters. A strategist connects action to purpose. They make individuals feel part of something larger. When people believe, they commit. Self-knowledge is the foundation of all psychological power. You cannot read others clearly if you are clouded by your own emotions. The strategist masters their inner dialogue. They silence insecurity, balance ego, and anchor themselves in purpose. This inner calm radiates outward, influencing everything it touches. To practice psychological strategy, observe human patterns in daily life. Watch how people respond under stress, success, and uncertainty. Notice how tone shifts trust. See how empathy transforms resistance. Every interaction becomes training, every relationship a lesson. But the beauty of psychological strategy is that it's not about control, it's about connection. When you understand people deeply, you don't need to force outcomes. You align energy instead of opposing it. You create influence that feels natural, not imposed. True strategic power is invisible. It's the quiet confidence that moves others without demand, the calm presence that turns chaos into cooperation, and the deep understanding that the greatest weapon a strategist wields is empathy. Execution. Strategy without execution is illusion. The most brilliant ideas, the sharpest insights, the clearest visions, all collapse without action. Execution is where thought meets reality. It is the bridge between imagination and impact, the moment when theory becomes transformation. Many people dream, few do. The gap between knowing and doing is where most potential dies. The strategist closes that gap. They understand that knowledge means nothing without application, and planning means nothing without motion. Execution turns potential into proof. Execution begins with commitment. Once you decide, move. Indecision drains energy, action creates it. The strategist doesn't wait for perfect conditions. They act and adjust. Clarity grows through motion, not contemplation. The longer you hesitate, the heavier your idea becomes. Start small, but start now. Every great structure begins with a single move. The The strategist breaks big visions into actionable steps. They ask, what's the smallest step that moves me forward today? Momentum builds confidence, and confidence sustains consistency. Consistency is the secret of execution. Grand efforts may impress, but steady effort transforms. The strategist builds systems that remove reliance on motivation. Motivation fades, structure endures. A daily routine, a checklist, or a feedback loop. These simple anchors compound into unstoppable progress. Discipline is the silent engine behind execution. It's not about forcing yourself, it's about honoring your word. The strategist treats their commitments as contracts, not with others, but with themselves. Each completed task is a statement of integrity. When you keep promises to yourself, self-trust becomes strength. Execution also means focus. Not everything deserves your energy. The strategist eliminates distractions with precision. They understand that saying yes to one thing means saying no to 100 others. To execute well, you must guard your attention like treasure. Focus turns scattered effort into directed power, but execution isn't just speed, it's feedback. The strategist moves, observes, and adjusts. Every result, success or failure, is data. Action reveals what thinking cannot. You don't learn by planning perfectly, you learn by engaging directly with reality. Feedback is the map that keeps execution aligned with strategy. There's a story of a sculptor asked how he carved such a perfect statue. He said, "I just removed everything that wasn't the figure." That's execution, removing what doesn't serve the vision until only excellence remains. Progress isn't always about adding, often it's about subtracting. The strategist treats failure as iteration, not defeat. Every setback refines the system. Execution is not a straight line. It's a cycle. Act, assess, adjust. Each turn brings you closer to mastery. The faster you learn, the faster you rise. Execution demands endurance. The early stages bring excitement. The middle brings doubt. The strategist stays steady through both. They understand that results come to those who outlast resistance. The finish line is rarely crowded because few persist long enough to reach it. Action without purpose is chaos. Purpose without action is fantasy. The strategist unites both. They move with intention. Every task connected to a vision, every effort aligned with meaning. That alignment turns labor into fulfillment. Execution also requires emotional control. When progress slows or results lag, frustration tempts you to quit. The strategist uses patience as a weapon. They know that consistency compounds quietly, then suddenly. True mastery isn't loud, it's relentless. In leadership, execution is influence in motion. People follow what they see, not what they hear. A strategist who acts with discipline inspires trust. Teams mirror consistency. Culture follows example. Execution turns vision into movement and movement into legacy. To master execution, focus on rhythm. Small, steady, repeatable actions that build over time. The strategist doesn't sprint, they sustain. They know that excellence is not a single act, but a pattern of presence. In the end, execution is where the strategist becomes the architect of reality. Thought creates possibility, but action creates change. The distance between where you are and where you want to be is measured not in time, but in movement. Think clearly, plan wisely, move decisively. Strategy sets the direction, but execution builds the destination. And that's how every great vision, yours included, becomes real. Epilogue. The strategist's way. Every journey of mastery ends where it began, with awareness. The art of strategic thinking is not about outsmarting others, it's about outsmarting your old self. Across these 10 chapters, you've learned how to pause, see clearly, adapt fluidly, and execute with precision. But beyond all tactics lies a deeper truth. Strategy is a way of living. To think strategically is to live deliberately. It means you no longer drift through days reacting to circumstance. You respond with intention. You no longer measure success by speed, but by alignment. You begin to see that life itself is a game of patterns, and the one who observes most deeply moves most wisely. A true strategist is not cold or calculating. They are calm, aware, and purposeful. They know that emotion, intuition, and logic all serve the same master when balanced: clarity. They act with quiet conviction, understanding that the loudest move is often the weakest one. The strategist's way is a mindset of discipline and reflection. Every decision becomes an experiment, every obstacle a lesson, every setback a signal. They don't chase outcomes, they design them. They don't force life, they flow with it. Each day becomes an opportunity to refine perspective, strengthen patience, and sharpen awareness. But mastery is not a destination. It's a rhythm, a continual process of learning, adjusting, and evolving. Even the best strategies fail if the strategist stops growing. The art lies not in perfection, but in persistence, in returning again and again to awareness when chaos tempts you to forget. The world rewards those who can think clearly when others panic, adapt when others freeze, and act when others hesitate. That is your advantage, not power over others, but mastery of self. Because once you can lead your own mind, you can lead anything. So as you step forward, remember, strategy is not a skill you practice occasionally. It's a way you see, decide, and live. Keep learning, keep observing, keep refining. The strategist's way is endless. And in that endlessness lies your greatest freedom. Think deeply, move wisely, live strategically.